Continue this. E6 was a fine little move, setting up the tactic of the check, and he wins a queen for two bishops. So this is a decisive advantage for white. The black is fortunate to have the two bishops. They can cause some nuisance value, but in the long run, white is in trouble. Let's go on to this one real quick. Okay, so as I say, all black can do is just throw caution to the wind here. We'll give him credit for trying. He does try. Okay, so um, white should try for a checkmate to end the game, but his queen's way over here. But attrition is in white's favor. Now he anchors this down as a bad pawn, has a good square here. Black is trying to get an attack going, so white does his best to disrupt it. Maybe g4, you know, position can get locked up in a hurry. Take, you have a half-open g file. You know, it's not an enviable task for black, but he has options to think about. You can deflect this bishop away. Maybe this rook could come into play. You know, black has time. If he uses it, he'll find his best. Looks like we have a couple of results. Yeah, this black won. Okay, so white, there's your problem. You moved too quick. Okay, you had 2.5 minutes of move to do this. So the knight just kind of danced around, and there goes g4, and now this pawn is doomed. So so white resigned. Okay, so 36. You got 36 minutes added to his clock. So he spent 15 minutes on 36 moves. Okay, that's like 20 seconds a move, or thereabouts. It's not going to cut the mustard. Not going to get the job done. Okay, let's skip ahead to this other game that ended. That was the one where he up the queen for the rook. Discovered check. The king is just getting very powerful, and it's just a matter of time before. Oh yeah, he's winning the rook. Okay, well I can't see one movers. That's your best chance against me when I miss the one mover, because it happens a lot. Okay, so we'll kill that game. We have 5. Somehow we get another game here. Thought we had 5 to 6 games. Oh no, it just didn't. It just didn't delete it. Okay, there are 4 games remaining. Okay, so we didn't look at this one yet. This one seems about even. It's sure been an interesting, to see what had happened had white grabbed this knight. I think he can get away with it, but I don't know. But black's advantage here lies in the fact that he has a bishop over a knight. It's not much of an advantage. So game seems about even. And then here's black is still thinking. No, he decided to keep the pawn on the board. So the knight's a little out of play now. White's probably not going to take. So, yeah, I was misanalyzing this. I was suggesting g4. Yeah, let's just hang the knight. I told you I make one movers. Okay. So, if I'm white, what do I want to do? Well, this piece is out of play. Let's stick it here. Let's put the knight here and drop it in here. Okay. Okay. Oh, good. So the queens have shown up. What's happening here? Okay. Both sides got a queen. Who's winning? Okay. Ah, very nice. Or is it nice? Let's see. Is there, takes, queen check, king moves, queen takes, Uh, this is going to be in white's favor. Check. King up. Oh, it's tricky. Oh no, he has another move. Doesn't take the rook. He checks on here, and then puts the queen on c6 and stops the pawn. So, okay, so good move by white. White, you're getting away with moving quickly. Now, there's, both sides have the queen. And, the white king looks safe. The black king looks safe. White's threatening to do this, win the game, because outforce queen trade, and then white has extra pawns. So white is 2 pawns ahead. So now, I guess you got to grab this, and white needs to. This takes a while to run the pawns, but white needs to try to somehow generate threats against the black king while keeping his safe. So this is a very interesting ending. Okay, knight f5. Do we want to give up the bishop pair and cripple his pawns? Very, very interesting position. Okay, so we got 4 games, and Christian's score is 2-0. This one's a grind. Now, one advantage for the Simul giver is that as you get rid of games, you get more time to look. And so I'm not sure which one he's looking at. It's giving me that pop-up. Are you still here? Yes, of course I'm still here. Oh well. So how can black win this? Like it's not like I'm talking about. It's the bishop versus knight advantage. I like to bring up a famous game. It's in all the endgame anthologies. It's Stoltz versus the Kazjan, Hague, 1928. And if you look in the book Endgame Strategy by Sherezhevsky, it's bishop versus knight, and he did take. Okay, does a lot of bishop opposite colors, but let me finish my discussion here. Okay, in the white has his kingside pawns intact. This one's up here, which may have caused the defeat. You know, this is the ideal position to have the pawns. Had the pawn not been on h3 in the Stoltz-Kazjan game, it may have very well have been a draw. But the strategy basically, and I think she had 1 pawn on the queen side, and the way Sherezhevsky describes it, the objective is to use the bishop and knight to create weaknesses in the enemy pawn structure. And that's exactly what Kazjan did. And that eventually Kazjan stole a pawn, got a pass pawn, and it ran up the board. And Stoltz tried counterplay on the queen side, but he wasn't quick enough. So now this does give opposite colored bishops after pawn takes. We could take here with check first, though that seems kind of silly to activate the black rook. He could, no, throwing the check is no good. He just play rook takes. Okay, so pawn takes, and black does have a fork, but white can bring the knight back. So the attacking side is a piece ahead. Black is white's threatening to double white's pawns. I'm so dyslexic. White's threatening to double black's pawns when bishop takes f6. You know, it's a tough position. You know, let's see. So pawn takes, knight here. Black may very, or white may very well get this check, just to try to reach bishop opposite colors. And rook takes. You know, it's a tough one. Oh, we have a game ending. Okay. Oh, good. Okay, so good recovery by white. Okay, you got away with moving too quick. Okay. So you know, now you've learned something about this type of position. If you have the right idea, you want to play here, but you need to know about what he did. So the method here is to play b3, then a3, then b4. Mission accomplished. So very good play on your part to salvage this. Thanks for participating in the Simul. Okay, we're down to 4 games. Okay. Well, they started another game. Well, I'm not gonna cover this one. Okay, well, because I have a time schedule today, so very sporting of you to take another game. I will just give a cursory look. Okay, so here you're giving up d5 right away. This is not a good choice. I mean, white's not even threatening to play knight g5, okay? That's not a threat. You're just going to take it. Okay, what you can play here is just bishop e7. And that stops knight g5 too. Now, if you're afraid of playing knight f6 because of this, I can understand that. But just play bishop e7. You know, this is a horrible move because you guys don't read chess books. I call it the internet defense. It's been invented on the internet countless times over the last 20 years since internet chess took off by people that don't bother to read chess books. It's designed to keep bishops and knights out of these squares. Why? Knights deliver forks and bishops pin knights. But just bishop e7. Okay, so I'm going to close this game down after I just go through this much because I'm not going to look at it. But white is picking up a development advantage. And he says, you know, you can't keep that pawn. Now black has a permanent weakness down here. And he says, if you want to take that pawn, you're going to have problems on the open file. Okay, so I might cover a little bit more of this just to see how this turns out. As long as I have other games, I guess I will. But if this is the last game, I'm not gonna. I have obligations too. I made my plans around this Simul. Okay, so let's see, knight c3. Okay, so white can develop his bishop, black can't. How's this bishop going to get into play? So what if white plays bishop f4 here? Stops d6. Because we just take it. So here misses a chance to play d6. But you know, bishop f4 seems to put white on top. Okay, now we'll come back. Okay, so here's the game where white was up a queen for 2 bishops. What's happening here? What have we missed? Okay, let's see. He pinned the bishop, chased the queen, still pinned. Now this could be taken. He doesn't take it. Why doesn't he take it? Oh, because of a tactic. Bishop takes. Okay. So he takes away that trick, covers his back rank, weakens f3, weakens h3. So black says, I'm going to protect my pawn and attack your rook. Okay, good defense. And, you know, white just maintains the advantage of a queen versus 2 bishops. Gotta continue. Okay, so let's see. So I was suggesting what should white do now, and his idea is, I'm going to go play with this knight here and see what you have to say. So solid play by white. Okay, now here he's managed to win a pawn. He shouldn't have won that pawn. Did I miss something? Oh, okay. That's what I missed. I missed the knight going here. I was looking at the knight going here to stop this check. Okay. So good play by black. Counterattack here. So let's see. Takes. I don't know. White's winning a pawn here. Let's peek at this. Yeah, there he did play bishop f4. Okay, 1 second. I gotta have my phone near me. I'm expecting a text or a call shortly. Have a room charging. Okay, so this pawn has problems. How do you defend that pawn? Well, I guess you can play bishop c7. Or maybe bishop c5, but then white could take and get the bishop pair. So check this one later. Let's come back here. Here's the queen versus the two bishops. Okay, black has got his pieces in play. Two bishops versus a queen and no pawns on the board should be a broad thing. It's extremely rare, but the black is a long way off from getting that. But one thing about this type of position, a couple of things about this. Okay, notice one thing. Black has 5 back rank pieces on the board. White has 4. Black has an extra guy. It's just that his extra guy happens to be weaker than the queen. Okay, so white has to utilize his queen in the proper way to make some inroads. Now, I would say it's probably in black's interest to keep these rooks on the board because they're doubled. And white may have to try to advance his pawns to find ways to weaken the black pawns or open up lines for some kind of an attack. It's a technical thing for white, but it's a long way off. So see how black holds on here. Okay. So here we're looking at this one again, waiting for black to move. And see where this one goes. Oh, there's that message. Are you still here? I have to click, yes, I am here. Of course I'm here. Where else would I be? I would rather be here. Okay, now. So black needs to move his queen or his rook to avoid the fork. So rook could go here. Could go down here. But then on knight b6 we could double up, but then white's able to play the rook here, and no, he's not, because well, here is he. Let's see, it goes over there. Wait a minute. No, that just allows the fork. Yeah. Okay, well. Let's see, so what was I looking at? I was looking at rook down here, rook here, queen here. I was wondering if black had this thread or something. I guess not. Oh, anyway. Now the queen is going to get decentralized, and black is down a rook. Okay, so, black did about as much as he could, I think, starting something, but he just ran out of, I guess. It might have been a mouse look rook a8. Okay, so, now white's a pawn up. Okay, so now maybe white can start thinking about playing for a win. Okay, let's see. Okay, so he mentioned he had bishop takes. He found that. And he steals this. So, gotta get that check. This seems foolhardy. If king f1, knight f4, we have to cover g2. We can do that by f3. If I'm black here, I'm mad at myself for dropping a pawn, and I'm saying, well, how can I hold this? And that's what you got to play for. Is play not, make sure you can't play for a win. That doesn't mean you can't win. I'm just saying you can't really be playing for a win. You have to be playing to hold on. Okay, let me stop here a second. Okay. I have too many things I'm trying to get done at once. Okay. But a great job by white taking his time. Let's peek at this one. Wow, this one's really changed. I wasn't going to cover it, but maybe it'll finish. Well, white likes to play fast. Okay, so there, white don't quite understand that. Let's see. At least yet, without going forward. I mean, the first rule of thumb is why get rid of his weakness? Why give up the bishop pair? That doesn't mean it's not good. We have to examine all checks, captures, and threats. Okay, I'd say black has done fine out of this. Okay. Now he's letting him double up his pawns. Take a pick. Oh my goodness, what is black doing here? Well, he's moving too quick. Yeah. Okay, so now that opens up this file. And white has a slight advantage in that black has double pawns. So white could have maybe tried for more out of this. Now probably f3, batten down the hatches here. So slight edge for white. One thing to consider is he does play rook c1. I was going to draw an arrow. If rook takes, knight takes, how do we? Yeah, and that's what happens. How do we evaluate a knight pawn ending? There's a general rule which holds true almost every time. It's imagine the knight's off the board. Who wins the king and pawn ending? If you can solve that, you can solve the knight and pawn ending question. And that's because knights don't lose tempos. So white seems to have a clear path to get his king this way, so black should be heading his king this way. And let's see. It's probably a mistake at some point to send the knight over here. I would have brought the king over, but I'm not sure what he's doing. Let's see. He's trying to activate. The knight didn't have much, so it's not going to have much here or here. Wow, they're both playing blitz chess. Okay, well, we could argue that these were necessary moves. So white has said, I want to go to b5. Black says, no, you don't. Now white may play a4 to stop this. See? So sometimes, you can play blitz chess. The moves are easy, but you still want to stop and think. What if there's a gross blunder here? So white has slightly better king position. The pawn structure on the king side is symmetrical. White is trying to achieve entry points for his pieces. White hasn't moved his knight yet. He has the d5 square. Now, is black trying to generate counterplay? Perhaps. I don't know. But we can chase the king out. Or can we? Okay, now the knights are keeping each other out. Or white's knight's keeping black's knight out. Okay, that's just, okay, black, you got to take your time here. I hope you watch this video. You are playing too fast. Okay? So, now that fixes he did all that to get rid of his double pawn. Okay, well, if white can get this knight here, black is in a little bit of trouble. So let's see, knight here. Maybe you have to spend a tempo first and play this G pawn up. Okay, now knight here. See, you're both guilty. You're both playing too fast. How can I analyze your ending if you blitz? I'm having fun. Does it sound like I'm having fun? I'm having fun. Okay. Let's come back here. Oh, we've had a lot of clarification here. I'm thinking, black has a certain amount of compensation here. He's got such a solid game. And, we got a lot of stuff traded. Oh, I don't like that. See, this weakens a6. Now, unless there's a tactical reason, just keep your guys on the board. Now, here white gives up the exchange. Okay, that's how some of the exchanges happen. Now white's advantage is queen versus, oh, duh. He's going to take this. Okay. Queen versus rook now, game over. Okay, so that's where b5 let him down. It also unprotected c6. So this is just a routine win for white now. Black has virtually nothing. This pawn is in trouble. This bishop is loose. There's a pass pawn coming. Game over. Okay. Let's see what happened here. Okay, he took the rook. Now white's just liquidating. And the black king looks more vulnerable than the white queen, especially with this stuck in the corner. Oh, hey, found a way to activate it. Good job. Okay. But the pressure is just mounting here. Okay, next game. Okay. It seems like it's giving me that "Are you still here?" message every 10 seconds. Okay, so knight check. I mentioned this. Now f3. Okay, what do you do if you're black here? Well, one thing to do is Trade both sets of rooks and knights, and then you draw the opposite colored bishop ending. King f8. Okay, now that could be risky. White might get away with a4 here, and this pawn is fixed on a dark square. But that would put the a pawn fixed on a light square too. Black might play this, so it's double-edged. Things to consider. Okay, what's happening over here? Okay, so let's see. Something missing. Okay, yeah, okay. I was recalling this, where the black knight is, or the white knight's receding the black knight. Trying to figure where I left off. Okay, the check came. Now here he could have gone to d4. He didn't. He chose to check. So I have to send a text. Okay, I have company coming over here. Maybe I'll get her to be a guest commentator if talking into it. Okay, let's see. So what's happening? Check. He's still restraining him out of here. So black's doing okay here, but they're going too fast for me to really evaluate this. Okay, so now black has the better king, but it got in. And there goes that pawn, so black had better come up with something here. Okay, you know, weakness, but even if you win the b4 pawn, how are you going to get this? You know, this is just winning for white now. So the curse of moving too fast is beating you again. Okay, you spent 10 minutes on 41 moves. 10 minutes. Go play 10-minute chess. Uh-oh, now you're in trouble. Okay. Now this one ended up here. Let's see. Yeah, this one was just over. They piled up on e7. And he could have taken with check, but this is effective too. So unfortunately you lost a piece out of the opening. Now you've learned that trap. Nobody will beat you with that again. You did pretty well for hanging in there. You came up with some moves, but you know, when you're down a piece, you're down a piece. Okay, so we got 3 games left. Okay, so let's see. Okay, we took the knight, grabbed the pawn, guarded, overprotected f2. Okay, well, black's trying to make a fortress, but he's just down too much stuff here. And here comes a check, which looks like it might have been a pawn. Maybe black's trying to come this way. So now takes. We can bring the rook here, but the knight just goes up to e5, I guess. You know, I mean, this is easy. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so here's why he did the e5. He wanted to get the bishop check. Okay, so let's see. There's king f2. d3 is covered from checks, but then black can get his rook into play. Well, not yet. He's got a loose rook here. See, a5 he played knight b6, and looking at the fork, but not the check. Okay, so well, this one's moving along quick again. So now you have white one. I wasn't going to cover this game. It finished. You play 2 games in. Don't start another one. Okay, let's see. Okay, so there's a pawn breakthrough. If this pawn takes, this runs. If this pawn takes, you've unprotected this. And that's what happens. And now the black has no hope. So like king e5, we just take. He can take this, but then king g7. And this pawn is queening in 3 moves, where black needs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, not enough time, and it's too slow this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so good game by the master. Okay, so he did grab the pawn. So there's 2 games left. And this one, white has the advantage of queen over a rook. And then this very interesting game. Okay, so pass pawns must be pushed. Let's get it up the board. Black is fighting for a draw. And he's gotta save his rook. Okay. So let's see. We're going to put that rook. It's not going to d8, but it's going to go to b8. Just like that. c5 is prohibited because the pawn is pinned. But you take the pawn here. Then we have bishop takes. No, we don't, because knight takes protects the bishop. No. Maybe just bishop d4 to keep the rook out of b2. So one disadvantage of taking your time is that you don't have a whole lot of time if you really need it. But here, black has, or white has, I think, sufficient time to find the right moves. He is a pawn ahead. He should play for a win. He shouldn't offer a draw, but if the draw offer comes, I'm grabbing it. Grabbing it against anybody, unless they're a beginner. But then I wouldn't get this position against a beginner. That's one way to look at it. So let's see. We're down to 2 games. Okay, this knight is entrenched. The black king is now exposed. This pawn is under fire. And we're going to be down to 1 game here, real quick. So I'll keep this video alive. Last week I made 3 parts. The last part only lasted about 12, 15 minutes. Okay, let's see. Black hasn't moved yet, but I think we have a move over here. I heard a click. Let's see, where is it? There it is. No, he didn't move yet. I'm hearing things. And there's that, am I still here message? Yes, of course I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. Okay, so this allows the rook to come down here for what it's worth. Which puts a threat down there. Now, I might have considered bishop here, as I was saying. But unless white blunders, it's, you know, it almost makes it impossible for black to win this. He just doesn't have anything. I'm going to have lunch delivered here sometime in the near future. Like I said, I got a text. So I'm going to stop and eat. It seems like I was eating last time. Did one of these. Okay, so let's see. This rook doesn't have a whole lot of squares to go to. Has f8, has b4, and has b2. I don't really see a Zwischenschritt. Let's see, is there any change over here? Wow. Which pawn do you want? But I guess the idea is that he's going to let him take on f2. And then after the rooks are traded, you'll have a mate threat. Now this is just winning for white now. So this seems to be the game that'll finish. Okay, so I like rook b2. So you could have prevented that with bishop d4. No, he could, well, I don't know. Let's see. Let's pay a little more attention to that. Okay, bishop here stops this. But then if rook b4, you know, you can always play the rook here. I don't know. Well, it could have taken this too. But anyway. But this seems to be a decisive edge now. But black was reasonable until b5 there. You know, just keep your pawns back. The advanced pawns, they become, targets are created. Okay. How many of you viewers have been in the west coast of the United States? There's this delicious burger chain, In-N-Out Burger. Oh my God, they're so good. I'm going to have an In-N-Out Burger. Haven't had one in 3 months at least. They closed down Las Vegas March 17th. I've been shut in ever since, and I'm fine. They're reopening the town. Yeah, I think more than half the hotels and casinos have reopened. We took that way. Good. Well, that's just going to get him mated to knight f5 check. Knight f5 check seems to force a quick mate. So I have a friend who is coming over shortly. He's a FIDE master also. His PQ was 2480. He's defeated Grandmasters Nick Fermi and Walter Brown. Oh, there it is. It's mate coming. Okay, so if the king moves, rook h1 check, followed by mate. Rook takes knight, rook h1 check, followed by mate. So this one is about to end, and we'll be down to one game. Okay, so there's been one game that ended in a draw. The master has won the others. So black only has two legal moves here. Retreat the king or take the knight. And it doesn't matter which one you do, rook h1 check is coming. Followed by rook takes, rook mate. Because black can interpose the rook on either h6 or h5 depending on black's next move. So now it looks like there's a move over here. So here, I don't know. He's giving up counterplay here. Black can take that. I don't think that was the best choice. Question is, how do we take it, with the rook or the knight? No, we can't take it with the knight, with the rook, because this falls. So you got to take this way. So black is alive and kicking here. Okay, so we're waiting for this one to end. Mate and two. Well, I'll just keep it on this one. Okay. Well, I think I'm keeping it on this one because I want to see the pop-up come up that white either that it's mate or that black resigned. So let's see, In-N-Out Burger, they're so delicious. Okay, now it's mate and two. Rook check. Now he doesn't see it right away because he's busy thinking on the other board. I have that little luxury on. If you follow somebody, it's giving a simul on the right side of the screen. It shows the games and whose move it is and how much time's left. You don't see it on my video. So once he moves on the other board, he'll come back to this one. So just a quick look at that one. I'm thinking knight takes g2. But this one is just about over. So I think my friend knows that there's that I'm recording a video for the simul. I'm asking to participate. I'll let him know. Anything you say is going to be on the internet. Okay, so mate and two here. Rook h1 check. So we got to wait for Christian to move here first. Knight takes g2. Gets the rook. Can offer a trade. Rook takes, king takes. No, we even have another move here. We could take this. Pawn being... Oh, why is he coming back? Yeah, I don't know, maybe I missed something. Okay, he wants to be able to take this next and win a pawn. So if the bishop say, well, the bishop can go here. Okay, well, you know, he's only down a pawn. And then I missed this 1-1. There's your mate. Okay, thanks for playing, Aditya Jain. You had a good game there. You know, just a quick comment. Okay, don't play b5. So it's just created weaknesses. You know, well, let white force the breaks. At some point, you know, he's going to play b5. Let him do that. Just keep everything safe and solid. Make white find ways to beat you. You kind of beat yourself by weakening your position. See? Now this set up a tactic which I overlooked was, you know, while you're attacking this, let's see. And you count, you know, his wishes, you know, we had to save the bishop. So, you know, you answer his wishes, I mean, you wish his wishes and God's wishes, so to speak. Because now you have to deal with this threat, and you've left this thing loose. So thanks for playing, and our focus now goes to the final game. And somehow I think it might have moved the chessboard. We're going to miss part of the board. I don't know. The settings on chess.com aren't uniform. You go to start a game and add another one, and it moves the board. So anyway, we're going to let this one ride out. Okay, so rook e5. So let's see, black could take and then bring the rook over here. No, he can't. That hangs this. Okay, could also bishop takes. Okay, now what am I missing? If pawn takes, you lose a piece. So is black suddenly winning this? Did white blunder, or does he have bishop e5 here? It looks like white has to find bishop e5. I've been trying to get that bishop on this diagonal for the longest time. He hasn't done it. Yeah, I have an In-N-Out burger like 2 blocks from where I live, right by the Las Vegas Strip. I can see T-Mobile Arena. That's where the Las Vegas Golden Knights play. I can see that from the street. I got the new Allegiant Stadium. That's where the Las Vegas Raiders will be playing. That's like a half a mile away. I can see all this stuff. I don't even go there. Okay, so this is the final game of the Simul. White has to find bishop e5. He has 18 minutes to find it. If he doesn't find it, he's dropping a piece. Very good, he found it. Okay. Okay, now, let's see. The rook has to move. Rook to b4. Game seems to be even. With white now, here I was talking about black having the advantage of bishop and knight earlier. White will have that. There's that. So it's cashed in. So it looks like black needs to play rook b4 here. Well, they could desperado the bishop. Bishop takes check. And, you know, white has the advantage of bishop over knight. Black has a rook on the 7th. So this is his last game. We may see a draw for come here just to end the Simul. I can't speak for them. but I'm obligated to complete the video. I mean, I don't want to stop it and then start a new one and have it be a 2-minute video, you know. Last week I stopped it and then there were several games going and they all ended up quickly, so I'll just let this run. Okay, so you can take the pawn with check, you can move the rook. Now rook b4, he needs to take, and we don't have time to take the rook because we didn't get our pawn back. Then we take down here. And a draw is a fair result. I forgot which opening this was. So here he played this move and got away with it. So what can black? You know, sometimes let's kind of bring up a new point here. When somebody plays something off the wall, maybe what he should have played here was d6 rather than d5. See, there's no rule that says white should take en passant, but if you play d6, if he takes, we transpose. The other choice would be knight f6, or knight c6 rather, attacking the pawn. But then white plays d4, so maybe d6 was more accurate. Because when he played d5, it allows white to play d4. So the question is, what would you rather play? Would black rather play his French defense, or okay, all right, company's here. You're being recorded. Anything you say will show up on the internet. Anything you say. I have one game left in this guy's Simul. If you want to sit down and comment, see how you evaluate this position, feel free. I said I have a strong FIDE master coming over to bring lunch. Yeah. You need ketchup? No. That's all about In-N-Out Burger. Over here. Okay, you want to sit and comment what you think of that position? You want to do it?
What do I think of the position?
I think it's, okay, it is black to play. It looks like he has to take the pawn. See? Get close to the mic.
What do I think of the position?
I think white has a slight advantage because of the bishop over knight.
That's what you think?
That's what I think. Am I wrong?
Not necessarily.
You want to introduce yourself so they know you are, feel free. If you want to be anonymous, I'll figure it out.
Okay, this is Dan Durham, a FIDE master from the past. Which is to say, I've been told that I don't have the FIDE title of today. But then I've also been told once you gain a title, you never lose it.
That's true.
So, I am a senior master at chess. I was 2480 at my highest rating, and like I said, I got the FIDE master title, maybe 30 years ago.
More than that.
So,
Have a Dr. Pepper.
thank you. All right. So about this position, yeah, it looks roughly even. I would agree with Bill that there's play on both sides of the board. So that tends to favor the bishop slightly over the knight. But all in all, you know, there's some back rank issues still with black. Although I would suspect that he will alleviate that with h6 at some point. So he may alleviate it with f6, except that his knight on e6 would be a little loose. So all in all, black is, there's the h6 I was talking about. And then maybe, you know, if necessary, I'll play g6 or g5. I'd probably be in favor of g5 myself. I would guess white should play f4 here to threaten f5. And then after f4, then black would play g6, I suppose. Something like that. Anyway, I don't think black should lose the position. That's what I'm saying. I think with proper play it should be a draw. That's my humble opinion. But I see a big rating disparity between black, who's says 2007 against a 1259.
White's taking his time. That's why he is doing so well.
All right, Bill, I gotta have some food here.
Okay. We're both eating. I'll keep talking from the side. I think I'm talking loud enough where you can hear. But we've had people, big 40 moves in 15 minutes and stuff like that. What the heck? Would you have got a master title if you played blitz chess in all your tournament games over the last 40 years?
I don't know. I doubt it.
There you go. That's all I needed to hear.
You know, when I was, I think I was 14 or 1500, and I wonder what it took to be a master. You know, that process, that journey. And I figured out that if I would get out of myself and start thinking about what's the opponent trying to do to me, I improved at least a couple hundred points at that moment. And what else? And then deep thinking, really deep conceptual thinking, and having a big deep philosophy in playing. There's another couple hundred points. So rather than, I have a lot of people, I'm also a life master at bridge and many other games, as well as poker. So one of the key things is philosophy. What's your philosophy in how you approach the game? Rather than looking for one move, look for a concept, like attack the king, defend the queen side, get more open space for my bishops, whatever the case may be. Start with the philosophy of what you're trying to do, and then find, in other words, set the context before you find the content, which is the moves. I will say this, though. Tactics do play a big part in chess. But there is a lot to positional play. I would say tactics dominate positional play. But if you're looking to improve your game, having a good philosophical understanding. Being objective is also important. And that's also a philosophical view. There's a branch of philosophy called objectivism. So my recommendation is to start somewhere in the realm of philosophy. That was a tricky move there.
The bishop can't take. So what do you think if White could trade rooks and get A4 in to fix that A5 pawn on black?
Yeah, that would be an important thing.
Could an in-game specialist, out of the past, one of the geniuses at the in-game, could they beat anybody in history with White in that, you think?
I don't know.
On that,
Could.
having the bishop over the knight plus the one bad pawn?
It's possible. It's possible. That's quite last couple of moves by a 1200 player is really surprising to me. That they could see such things as this.
Well,
In other words,
I think he's missed some better choices in the recent past. In the opening was
the knight's
bizarre.
the knight's a little stranded over there on G5 now,
Yeah.
and the black king is hemmed in by the pawn on F5. So I don't even know how it gets back in the game. I suppose rook takes d4 is the best, bishop takes d4, knight e4 to get the knight going, but like I say, like you said, you know, white's going to be able to use the king and bishop and rook. Can black say the same about the king? I don't know. I don't think so. So
And he didn't see it earlier when he played A5. First thing I said is it's risky because you're putting the pawn on the color of the bishop.
no.
Sometimes these little mistakes come back to haunt you later.
All right. And speaking of improving your game, you know, we live in an age of information. Almost all the information that you ever want to know about chess is like on YouTube, something like that. And all you got to do is do the research. There's so many great videos out there, like even the chess bras from Canada, you know, Amon Hamilton and what's the other guy's name? Eric's something or another.
Eric Hansen.
Mm-hmm. Eric Hansen. Those are the chess bras. You know, learn these patterns. Watch their speed games. And up and coming talent, Farouja. What's his name? He's an Iranian guy.
One of those in India now. Yeah.
He's got some game. Master Speed Demons. That's gonna leave a mark, I think, on white though. I think white's in trouble now. He's gonna drop a pawn. He's gonna drop a pawn with check probably. Maybe he didn't calculate this right. That's not good. There went the winning chances.
Oops, right. So rook d4 was a blunder, right?
The whole concept of, in other words, it was too fast. In other words, he lost your tactics. He should have been more patient. Patience in the end game is big. Material is much more pronounced in the end game. Generally, you don't want to sacrifice material in the end game.
The white king's kind of getting a little constricted.
You gotta go back. That's not good. Not good. Well, I'm not sure what, I guess he's thinking about rook f4 maybe. Which is probably the best move.
Yep. You read your mind.
Now black can probably trade rooks and put the knight on e6. Which is basically the same position that was before, except down a pawn. Yeah.
But for black to win this now, he's got to win it with his pawn majority. And you get the rooks off the board, the knight's stronger than the bishop. So there would be some winning chances there.
I think white's goal now should be to try to draw this game by somehow exchanging the A-file pawns and then having a deficit of 3-2 on the king side, and that'll be a draw. So white blew the winning chances. Now there's only 2 results possible. Either a draw or a win for black. Whereas before there was 3 possibilities. White was even preferred. Most games are lost through tactics and material deficit. So just don't hang your pieces if you want to get better. Used to have a saying, right, Bill? It said, if you don't hang a piece, you can be an A player.
Yeah.
If you don't hang a pawn, you can be a master or an expert.
That makes sense.
You don't hang a square, and you can be a grandmaster.
Right. That makes perfect sense.
Can you outthink your opponent? Like, why should you win the chess game? What do you possess that's better than your opponent? As far as your thinking skills, your method of thinking. Did the whites move here? Rook F4, it's black's move. So what's black thinking about? Could be thinking about rook on E to E5. That's possible.
Good.
Probably what I would do.
Yeah, that keeps the white king restricted. I'm coming over easily to queen side.
That's the move I think I would play.
Keeps the A5 going
Alright.
protected then by the move position of the king and see if you can find a way to effectively advance your pawns.
Now black has a way to get his king into the game by king H7 to G6 at some point in the future. Okay, so it's black's to move. So those are the ideas I would think about doing. I don't know what else. You could trade rooks. Rook takes F4, Chad, bishop takes knight E6.
But you're not giving anybody a draw if you have black, even a grandmaster, right?
Right. Why should you?
You should.
You got only 2 possibilities. You either draw the game or you win the game. "45 minutes left, huh?
And they get a 1 minute increment too.
No kidding. Every move's 1 minute extra. We'll be here all day.
Yeah, we had the start was delayed. They rebooted the server,
Mm-hmm.
and that promptly went down. We had to wait about 10 more minutes.
I see. You know, when I was about this level, When I say this level, I'm talking about, I think my first rating was 1344. But I had the impression before I played in my first tournament that I could beat anybody in the world. That just shows you my method of thinking when I was young.
Yeah, we all had that attitude. We could beat our brothers and sisters and cousins and next door neighbors.
That's right.
That was our world.
That's right. I didn't discover the real world. I think I played my first tournament was 1979 American Open. That was my first tournament.
77.
77 was it?
Yeah.
All right, 77.
72 and 78.
Bill knows me better than I know me. Okay. And like I said, I played my first game, and I'm trying to think of the guy's rating.
1500.
It was 1500, right? It was 1500, and the opening was
B3.
he played the B3 Sicilian as white against me,
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
and I thought he must be a complete idiot, is what I was thinking. When E4 C5 like B3 or something, and I thought, well, certainly this guy's an idiot. I'll beat him lickety split, and then I can claim my title for world champion. And I don't like that last move by black, by the way. He leaves the white rook on F4, hitting F7. I don't like that.
Watching was he didn't want to trade pieces. Keep the pieces on the board.
Well, that is possible.
Try to get to the 7th rank.
Okay, so if I'm white, here's what I would be thinking about, is how to get active. In other words, I would be thinking really about H2 to H4, attack the knight, get the knight to move, and then try to attack the F7 point. And something like that. Although, if I did play H4, he's probably going to play knight E4.
Even E6 and counterattack the rook.
So I'm not sure H4 is even right. So I'm going to have to think of a plan as white. What's the plan? So my plan would be to try to go for the draw. So I would probably play rook on C1 to E1. I would like to trade. If black does not want to trade, then guess what? Philosophically, I do want to trade. So, kind of how I think. Besides, I would want to challenge that file as well. I think it's important. It's what's preventing white's king from moving towards the queen side. And also it prevents knight E4. In other words, if I was black and it was my move, I probably would play knight E4. Okay, so I agree with that move in principle. Challenge the files. That's
now,
what.
if you want to keep the rooks on the board, if you go to B8, you want to run into discovery, so C8.
All right.
You did pick C8, so that kind of predicts.
Okay. All right. So right. Okay. So now what? What's the plan for white?
Rook E7.
I would like to do that, and except, yeah, probably rook E7. Let's go. Well, might drop the A pawn though, but the rook to C1 check. Gotta be a little careful, I think. So I'm trying to think of what's the right.
You know, white, like I say, white's done a great job taking his time there. So, but now it could bite him because he doesn't have. If he really needed 20 minutes to go in with pink, he doesn't have it.
I would be looking to. I want to get that knight away from F7, so I would probably be leaning towards H4.
And then the knight blocks on E6, and you can't get your rook to E7.
Yeah, that's true, but you can't have everything.
I know. You can't always get what you want.
You can't eat your cake and have it too. That's another philosophical point that I have.
You can't always get what you want.
Get what you need.
Get what you need.
So, there's a lot of philosophy in songs and music too. So don't try to get a well-balanced thinking approach, method of thinking. But then also I was reading today, or yesterday, or the day before, um, the dim hypothesis by Leonard Peikoff, and he says the following: integration. Now, what is meant by integration? That means to integrate the knowledge that you gain.
Oh, I forgot something. Okay. Well, okay. My mistake.
Uh-oh.
I just have to go back. It's easy. Okay. It likes to log you off unless you click that little button. But I'll get us fixed here. Okay. Now, if you see a little pop-up over here in the corner that says, "Are you still here?"
Yeah.
You say yes.
All right. So as I was saying, Leonard Peikoff, in the dim hypothesis, he says integration is the key to man's consciousness, to his conceptual faculty, to his basic premises, to his life. So what does that mean, to integrate? That means to take the knowledge that you gain and integrate it into your understanding. You know, into your consciousness, into your mind, into your life, into your chess game. So integrate the knowledge. Now you got to be careful though, because there's valid integration. That would be something like Aristotle. There's non-valid integration, which is something like Plato. And then there is anti-integration, which is something like Immanuel Kant. So you got to be careful. Or Jackson Pollock would be like non-integration. You know, like a Jackson Pollock painting. So it's all over the place. So you got to be consistent in your philosophy. What are you doing? Okay, so I like what White has done here from a defensive measure. He's doubled up on the F7 pawn, so he does threaten, or he did threaten, H4. But now, all right, that's a little bit of a risky move, but it's a good move, it looks like to me, because it makes an outpost on E4, which cuts the rook from the defense of E1. So White must be very careful here, very careful. However, having said to be careful, I'd be the kind of guy that would be thinking about pawn to G4.
Yeah, G4, bust them open like a can of worms.
Trading off also.
How do you do? You know, some of the old expressions we've had over the last 4 years.
The Zieglerisms.
Can of worms. Break them open like a can of worms. How do you do? How do you do?
Yeah.
That's when you attack somebody. How do you do? My pawn attacked your queen. How do you do?
All right, that rook is looking a little flimsy on F4 now.
You're only old if you feel old. I feel young.
I'm getting old.
Oh, we're getting old, but we got to feel young. I'm 6 years older than you are.
All right, so what's White's idea here? You got to watch out for the knight to E4 and then the rook to D1 attacking the bishop, which will be stranded. So perhaps, well, you can't really do that. No, this is not looking. F5 was a good move. I really like that move. That's a great move.
But I'm standing back with the H40.
No, that's not good, because now the knight goes to where it was wanting to go. And like I said, my big improvement was, can you figure out what your opponent is doing, wanting to do?
Yeah, he wanted the F5.
He wanted to go there. He wanted a spot for his knight there. And guess what? He got it.
Yeah, now rook D1, rook from D5 to D1.
Game over.
How does white prevent that? And look how the knight dominates the bishop now. So yeah, this is.
I mean, now notice, how would you plan on defending the bishop on e1?
Yeah, I don't know. You almost have to move the king.
Okay, so that's game over now. Yeah, see. That's game over right there.
Yeah. Well, I have to compliment White for, this game started e4, e6, and White's second move was e5, and I'm going, what the heck? But he's played a good game, and he fought back.
Mm-hmm.
And he's taking his time. When you take your time, when you're trying to improve, if you take your time, you give yourself a chance to find the best move.
Now,
if you play fast, you might find the best
now,
move.
if White had been taking my advice, which is to figure out what your opponent is plotting against you, then he would have figured out this idea of knight e4 and then the doubling of rooks. That's what his opponent was after.
So now he has to give up the exchange.
Yeah.
And
But that's not fun either, to be down the exchange. Like I said, material counts more in the endgame.
now the bishop is still pinned. So Black still has to find the proper technique, but with dominating rooks as he has, this is pretty much routine. Rook c2 is difficult to meet. You can play rook d2 as a pin.
I would play probably rook c2 myself. But
Now
I'm not sure.
the crazy here, just improve your pin position. See, at some point, Black may be able to just keep the pin alive and sack the exchange back on e1 and clean up in the king and pawn ending.
Yeah, that's possible.
All kinds of things you got to be on the lookout for. And the tougher your opponent, the more likely they're going to find those resources.
Yeah, that was a strong idea to play f5 in knight e4. So had White understood the idea, he might have backpedaled from rook e7 back to e2. Or he might have not got pinned in the first place and moved his rook back on that check. Instead of putting the bishop in the way, again, go along with the idea of trading. But like I said, if you could see all those things, then you wouldn't be dropping the pawn on f5. So it goes hand in hand with the method of thinking. Okay, so that's game over now for sure. You can't trade down here. Well,
No.
I mean, I guess he's gonna. It's gonna be a loss, though, I think.
Well, he can't take the a5 pawn because he gets forked.
Yeah.
Oh, he did.
Okay, so.
Well, you can go back to d2.
Oh, okay. Well, still,
the pin is still there. You can probably sack the exchange next turn.
Yeah, so this is completely hopeless, and for a number of reasons. The pin is one thing, down the exchange is another, and then for the third reason, all the pawns can be gotten at. So. Yeah, I think White should play h5 in any case. His only move, because if you let Black play h5, then Black's gonna gain access to the king side with his king. That's a good
You read your mind. Good move, White.
Yeah, but I suppose that Black's gonna play g5 and game over anyway that way. So you want to keep as much material pawn-wise on the board. So if Black plays g5 and king d5 and then
No, he took.
I wouldn't have done that, but that's okay. But this is still winning.
Right.
Like I said, Black has access to the king side. Even if he has to sack his rook.
Well,
But
it's not as easy to sack the rook now because you're left with an H pawn which can't,
Yeah.
see, it's still winning for black, but
But black's going to just guard it. And
see, he has to stop and play defense for a second.
he's going to drop the pawn on h5.
Yeah, that's inevitable. Yeah,
And then it's just a long march towards the queening square, and then
there are some positions where where black can have a rook and a pawn against a bishop and he can't win. It's crazy. This isn't one of them, though. Okay. Chase that. Chase that king out of there. Bring the king up to escort the pawn.
we're going to play rook g8.
Yeah, rook g8 makes sense.
Keep the king cut off, and then a little escort action. Although I wouldn't have played rook a8, but that's me. It's just a matter of probably going to wind up playing rook g6 check, the next move.
Excuse me.
Or maybe even going to play king g. No, I don't know. This is pretty hopeless. I wouldn't want to be groveling in this position.
They had to keep the bishop on the pawn, just to make black coordinate things. Knight just play king g4, and the pawn runs right up the board.
Yeah. It's time to resign, as they say, and go figure out how not to get these kind of positions in the future. Spend the time that way, instead of making meaningless moves like this.
Okay.
Playing on in a hopeless position is pretty hopeless.
I think I'll resign here in a move or two. I mean, the bishop, if it doesn't take now, I can still cover. Yeah, here's one. Oh, resilient defense by black coming back. Let me just type a comment. Great game, guys. Okay, I misspell it. I'm going to stop the video, get it uploaded. And thanks all for participating, and we'll see you next week. We do this again, huh? Okay.